Content. It's been a while. I backed up that much when I was doing my stall that it's been a few weeks since I've recorded anything. But back to the grind. Now, I mentioned my stall. It went reasonably well. My biggest enemy was the weather. It was bitter. It was so cold in the midst of the hot spell we've been having. It was gale force winds, and I think it kept a lot of people away. So, you know, I've done a couple of £100. I sold some nice pieces, but I think had the weather been better, I potentially would have done a lot better. But I come out of it up, so you can't complain too much, can you? And then I got this project, and at this moment in time, I'm going to be a little bit sort of cagey about it until the project plays out a bit. But I had a gentleman approach me at the stall and bring me a item that he had, and he wanted something making that would involve that item. So we had a discussion and we came up with a bit of a plan, and that's what I've started working on. So everything will reveal itself in time, but basically where we are at the moment is I've made a rudimentary mold out of a cheapo chopping board. And this stuff here is, you know, the plastic you get on the flappy doors in factories? It's basically that. A metric ton of hot glue, and we'll see if it holds. That is a wild mango blank in the bottom, and then that's a waste block. And then that's another wild mango blank. And the plan is I'm going to pour orange tinged or tainted resin or stained resin, but not a solid orange color. I want this to be opaque, semi-transparent, but with the orange to go with the mango. That's going to fill this void, and then you're going to have the other maple blank on top like a sandwich. I'm then going to hollow it, and I believe there's going to be LEDs inside it, and then we'll take it from there. But I'm going to get the resin mixed, I'm going to get the resin poured, and I'm going to get it in a pressure pot, because I've just with real life and stuff like that, this is dragged for a week that it didn't need to already. So yeah, I'm going to get the resin mixed, get the resin poured, drop this one on top, get it weighted down, get it in the pressure pot, we'll take it from there. So watch this. Okay, it's a bit of an update. I've just been through, well, I've been through my Chippystu colours, my pigments, and I've got a small box of 25 alcohol inks as well. And I was thinking of sort of orangey would go with it, but you know what's a lot like orange is gold, and I think gold's going to go with it as well. So I found a pure gold pigment powder from Chippystu, mica powder, and then when I went in the alcohol ink set that I've got, which is GR, there's a gold one here, and I think it's glittery. It's definitely got a sediment in the bottom of the bottle which would suggest glitter, so hence me shaking the hell out of it. And there's also, can you hear that, clearly a ball bearing in there, so I think that's going to have a real nice shimmer to it. I think it'll work very well. What we don't want is, for a change, because I'm a big fan of opaque resin, but we don't want it to be too opaque at this point, so I'm trying to avoid that. What I'm going to do now is pause the video while I do the boring weighing out and mixing bit, and then we'll be back after that. So I'll see you soon. Right, so let's try and show you what I've done. The big black bucket that I mould my biggest pieces in, I've actually dropped the whole lot inside there, purely because that's going to enable me to get in and out of the pressure pot easier. I've got the gold mixed up, so oh shit, oh double shit, let's see how it goes. This is where it gets dicey, because that level is going to drop, but I don't want it to drop below that waste block, so I'm going to have to monitor it for a while, just as it fills its gaps and kind of does its thing, you know. I have got a little bit more resin, but what I don't want is a gap. There's a gap between the top and bottom half of this sandwich, if you like. At the moment it looks alright, but it has got voids to fill. I don't know. I'm a little bit nervous of just dropping the top piece on. But ultimately, this is a hugely experimental piece I'm working on. Whoa! See, is that a leak? Or is that where I spilled it out the side? I can't tell. No, I thought that was there. So this here concerns... No, that is it running down the side. Which is less worrying. So I'm going to pause the video because I'm going to be fretting over this for a little while. I must apologise. In true Chippystu style, I waited for that to settle. I mixed up a tiny bit more, just sort of 200 or 300 grams, nothing major. Poured it, mixed that with the existing resin, put the second piece in the top, put another waste block on top of a piece of PTFE and then taped that down so it wouldn't float up, dropped it in the pressure pot and applied 60 pound of pressure. The one thing I didn't do throughout all that was press flipping record again. But you've seen me put stuff in a pressure pot before. Go back and watch the majority of my other resin casting videos. You'll see how I do that. It's no biggie, you've not missed a great deal. That's now in the pressure pot for 48 to 72 hours. Now, the grand scheme of things, it's Thursday evening. Tomorrow I am busy with other online commitments that I have every Friday, plus I've got work Saturday morning. Saturday I'm at work all day and I've got a date to see my mates on Saturday evening. So that's that out of the window. So it's going to be Sunday morning. It's going to be somewhere between 48 and 72 hours before I even think about that again. So I'm going to come back then and we'll see what we've cast. When I've done that, I'm going to contact the customer and he's going to bring the other piece of the puzzle round and I'll start having some serious discussions with you guys with what we're doing with this. But it's going to be fancy and it's going to be kind of cool, and it's a balmy out there idea. Really excited about this, so watch this space. Please don't go wrong. Okay, so I kind of struggled for a few days with how I fixed the issue that was created with the gap that was in the blank. Ultimately, I mixed a very obviously different gold to give it a little bit of texture, especially if the plan for it works out. It's going to be a little bit of texture, a little bit of flow to it, and I re-poured that and it worked out all right. Since then I have taken it out of the pressure pot, demolded it, thrown a woodworm screw and mounted it on the lathe, and this is where we are now. So that is the blank. Ignore this gold here, because ultimately that will, I mean, that's obviously where the mold was glued and there's a big ridge there, so by the time you turn that away all this will be gone too, and you just have the mango blank, which will be the very same, much the same down here. You got your two-tone gold there, and that's spinning at 12:15, and I'd say if you can pick that up, there's maybe between 5 and 10 mil to take away just to true it up. If you look at that ghost image just at the top of the blank, that's the off center that we need to take away. So that'll be the next job, and I'll be back when we do that. I'll see you in a bit. Right, So I'd have to look back and check, but it's genuinely 2 to 3 weeks since the last segment of this video, and I don't know, maybe the length of my beard will give it away. We'll see in the transition. In short, obviously, I've spoken on here about the Demons I battle. I'm currently undergoing some further tests for that at the moment. On top of that, in an unidentified drunken injury, I cracked a rib, which kind of laid me up for a couple of weeks. And then I trapped a nerve in my back, which wiped me out for another week, 10 days. Literally had the crappiest run with nonsense injuries, if you like, but I'm back. And we're going to go back to the goldy, mango-y, bronzy thing, and we're going to get some form of a shape out of it, hopefully today, maybe tomorrow, this evening, maybe tomorrow. And then we're going to see about revealing the main, I don't know, whatever. You'll see. We're back. We're going to film some more. We're actually going to try and make some content. I've missed 2 weeks of posting. Now it's Wednesday and post day is Friday. So I would venture that it's going to be a 3-week hiatus, probably, before this video goes up. So apologies for the gap. It's on me because, you know, I'm old as all hell and falling to bits. So yeah, here we are. The piece is still on the lathe. In fact, give me 2 seconds. The piece is still exactly where I left it, with nothing done to it, you know. So now I'm going to mount the camera. I'm going to put my face shield on because, you know, if you saw the day I nearly died video, I always wear my face shield now. So I'm going to put that on and see if I can find a glove, and we're going to make this round and start getting some shape to it. But first things first, let's get the camera mounted. So let's see what happens. It's been a while. Apart from anything, let's see how rusty I am. Setting at just over 1,000. This is potentially the moment of truth. This is where we find out whether we've got the effect we want for my amazingly interesting customer. And please bear in mind, this isn't sanded, finished. I'm not even convinced I've finished the inside yet. I might do a little bit more work on that, but we'll see. But this is the effect we're looking for. I really hope that's what you meant with the different tones of gold. And then you see as you take it out, it's kind of flat. And then it comes to life. Tricky this one, but we'll keep going. Okay, so I'm hoping the camera's going to pick this up on this seam here, like there, 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 there. There's a couple of little inclusions, and there's literally one, maybe, yeah, there, like a tiny one here and here. So what I'm going to do is going to fill them with CA before I sand it, which should fill them, basically. So there you go. In fact, do you know what? I think I'm going to use, he said, making a right mess, reaching into his cupboard. I think I'm going to use Starbond medium brown. It dries to a goldy colour that I think will go quite well with this. And I've got some micro tips for application as well. I'm not going to set the camera up to film me doing that, but trust me, it's boring. But I'll get it done, and I'll see you for sanding. Absolute disaster. I have to go all the way back to the start, all the way back to the drawing board. As I was pressure fitting the final piece, it was literally 10 seconds away from complete. The resin shattered. It had been turned thin deliberately because light had to shine through it. I used a little bit too much force, I assume. Wasn't using a great deal, but as I say, the resin had been turned very thin. And this is what we got. So, assuming the customer wants me to, it's going to be back to square one. Spoken in an early video about issues with motivation and things like that. Ultimately it was going to be, no, it will be when you see this, it'll be last week's video. I'm going to post it tomorrow. I'm going to post this as a fail, and then if the gentleman wants me to go back and do it again, then we'll post what should have happened later in time. Gutted. Absolutely gutted. Stuff like this makes you feel like giving up. I swear to God, stuff like this makes you feel like giving up. I'm trying not to show you too much of the final piece because we'll still do a reveal on that, but yeah. 30 seconds off done. Wow. Right. So you saw the post earlier with the failed end product. You saw how pissed off I was. Hopefully that doesn't get me muted on YouTube. Too late if it does. But I walked away from the workshop totally given up. I did a video showing the cock up, and I sent to my wife and said, you know, I've effed the job, basically. And she messaged me back and said, well, she offered me a fix, an idea for a fix, which I looked at immediately and thought, that's daft, you know, it'll never work. And then I went out for a drive, a very slow legal drive through the countryside, where I absolutely didn't break any of the speed limits or drive in any way that made me deemed erratic, because slow, calm soothing drives like that calm me down. And I went and did a bit of shopping. I popped to see my godson. The whole time I'm doing it, I'm thinking, and I came back and I've given it a crack. And you know, she might have had an absolute blinder. I've taken the broken resin off the one half, and I've smoothed out the broken resin on the other half. I didn't film it because I didn't think it was going to work. If I thought it was, I'd have filmed it, but there you go. I've then put a channel in that piece, and I've remounted the thing that I'll tell you what it is in a minute. That sits in that channel, and I'm just deciding now what adhesive to stick it with, but we might have rescued it, and it's thanks to Kitty. That's the long and short of it, is it's thanks to the good lady, because my flipping head had gone. I'm going to try and edit the swear out, so we'll know whether it works or not at the end of the video. So I'm going to start messing with the adhesive, and I'll be back, but fingers crossed. I've decided on 5-minute epoxy for strength. I'm going to mix this up, and I'm going to try and put it into the groove, and then put the two pieces together, make sure they're straight, and mitigate any squeeze out, certainly onto the outside of the piece. So I won't bore you with that. I'm going to be back in a little while, and we'll either have a finished piece, or, do you know what, we've given it our best. We'll see what happens. See you in a bit. Right. Unbelievably, and again, the credit for the idea goes to Kitty, because I'd give up on it. Unbelievably, epoxy notwithstanding, as long as that holds, I've only done it. I've only fixed it, and there it is in all its glory. And what it is a lamp, and the customer is going to put LEDs in there, and that resin is the reason I turned that resin so thin, is that the LEDs are going to shine through the orange onto this piece. Did a few cast your memories back, I did a craft fair at my local, and this gentleman approached me then and first asked me about this. This is, I believe it's the core, but it's, if I'm right, it's the core, it's certainly a piece of a, I think, pre-war Soviet missile. Don't know how came into the gentleman's possession, but it is. It's got the CCP printing on it. It's just so cool. Let me see if I can move that down a bit. Hey, there we go. It's so cool. Try to avoid picking this up because I'm using the weight of the top piece to help with the adhesion to the bottom piece. Not me. And it's such an amazing, so different idea, and this is how it has come out. We said moving it back. So what I'll do is, in a little while, I'll put it on the spinner, what you call it, turntable, if I can remember where I put it, and we'll do a beauty shot of it like that. And the other thing I'll do is I'll put it on my lathe bed, which is obviously got the gaps in the rails, and I'll put my turning light underneath it and up into the alcove, so you can see what I mean about the light shining through the orange. But yeah, there it is. So close to a fail. Thankfully, someone in my marriage is calm, and we pulled it back at the end. Like, subscribe, share, hit the bell. You never know whether you're going to see a winner or a loss. But yeah, more importantly than anything else, hit the bell, because let's face it, if you've watched all this, you really ain't got anything better to do. So peace. Laters. Have it. Tell you what, the weight of it turntable, struggling to turn it. I think it's given up. Yep, I do. I think it's given up. But I'll do it by hand. That shows you what you're dealing with. Let's see if I can do something with some light. Showing you as best as I can. But that is the general idea, with my lamp just sort of jammed on the bottom.